stems from their belief in the Darwin's system of evolution. Essentially, we happen to be because nobody can clearly explain how it happened, but it happened when a big bang or a small bang turned monkeys, and these monkeys developed and turned into humans, and the humans are doing wonderful things. They've changed the planet. You can look from a satellite and can see the Chinese wall, and they can see this wall, and can see the other wall. But essentially it is something which has happened, and it is useful. The process of life is useful. As long as it is useful, comes a point of time when you feel, well, the chappie had a good inning, and there is no purpose. I mean, some take it even further, in some quite civilized jurisdictions, there is assistant euthanasia of one sort or another, because it all stems from the same philosophy. The question is, how far do you take it? But there's a view of saying, okay, you may not impose someone euthanasia, but if the patient willingly submits to it, why not assist them? And why not? And so on and so forth. This is the one school. The other philosophy for which we stand is, first of all, God in his infinite wisdom created the world and created ourselves. And the most awesome and overwhelming feeling of reverence is to life itself. In our belief, life is the manifestation of the divine spark in this world. Life, the process, the chemical, the physical process, where people breathe, in good cases they talk, they function, do, but in some cases quite of these activities have diminished, but life is still recognized everywhere. Is something holy. It is a divine resource that it ought to be preserved, not in extreme views of the Muslim at all costs, but almost at all costs. And I don't want to say, to go into too many technical details, as when, at some stage, you can cease to preserve it. This is the first principle. Life has to be preserved, because it goes to the core of what we as Jews, or as the court of, forget about the court of appeal, or the other court said, it's got the basis in Judeo-Christian. Yes, we brought it. We actually preached it. Everybody is knowing this. Yes. And this actually goes to the core. It's more than eating kosher or not eating kosher. It is a statement of our core belief as to the universal purpose of us being there. And there is another element. And that is an acknowledgement, a humble acknowledgement of the limit of our ability to understand and to determine the universal, cosmic purpose of creation. I'll let me preaching a bit, and I'll give you something which has struck me some years ago, the most profound. I came across a book by a neurologist. I believe his name is, or was, Jeremy Sachs. I don't know if you're familiar with everything. Apparently, a world-famous neurologist who writes beautifully, who writes books that a layman can also understand. And he relates in one of the chapters a story of a man who lost his sight at the age of 2. Totally blind. And then, I don't remember exactly what the condition was, but at the age of 50 odd, through medical intervention, he regained his sight. And Professor Sachs said he spent 2 weeks with him to observe as to how he now copes with the new sensation of regaining his sight. And he says, he sat with him in an armchair, and then the dog, the domestic dog, made an appearance. And this gentleman who just regained his sight was quite taken aback. He said, "What's that? What's that?" So Zach said, "This is the dog. No, your dog, know what his name was. Come, he took water on a dog. But yes, he recognized my feeling, yes, that's a dog. That's how it looks, that's it. Dog left. And the dog came back a few moments later. And this chap, he wanted to show that he's caught and said, oh, look, it's another dog. Another dog. And I said, no, the professor said, no, it's not another dog. It's the same dog. And he argued him, no, it's not the same. It's a different dog. Couldn't understand what was the call, what's the argument here. And then he observed him for more days, and something clicked. He said that we have got an inbuilt mechanism that compensates for views from different angles. You see something from a certain angle, so the brain has got some software inside where the brain compensates for a view that's going, this same object is going to take, going to be viewed from a different angle. And we recognize it as the same object simply because we make use of that mechanism. He said it appears that through me to not having used or not having developed this system, this gentleman was lacking this piece of software. And therefore, he tested and observed him that having the very same object, but looking at it from different angles, caused him to believe it's a different object. And he went on and tried to identify exactly which area of the brain is responsible for that sort of compensation, etc. But it struck me powerfully. First it struck me as the beauty of creation. You never think about it. You see something in one dimension, and then you see it in a different angle, a different dimension. And when you recognize it, we take it for granted. It's a major piece of Microsoft inside there to try and compensate an Excel file of some sort or another to do it. And then it brought about the fragility of our senses. We know that we can't hear all wavelengths. We can't hear bats. We can't hear certain clicks of dolphins, etc., because there's only a band which we can hear. The others we can't. We may now, with the advent of modern technology, we can somehow convert those higher sounds into lower sounds, then they can give us an idea. But it's limited stimulation. Likewise, sight, certain range of waves that we can see, beyond that, or below that, we can't see. And so on and so forth. We know in litigation, when people give evidence and start crossing them, you realize how much have you actually seen or heard firsthand, and how much you compensate, or you add, or you fill in gaps which are just your assumption without necessarily having a foundation. But bearing in mind our limitation, and bearing in mind our frailty, it ill behooves us to stand in judgment and decide as to what is to determine the quality of life. And actually, even when the court had taken the lenient view and said that the family was entitled to say that the patient enjoyed his current state, and therefore that is deemed to be quality of life. So the term of what is life and not life is enjoyment. Does he enjoy or does he not enjoy it? It's so far removed and so strange to us. Life is not there to be enjoyed. Life is not there to drink and jump and make merry. Life to us is an object of world heritage, if you like. It's something so unique, something that is to be preserved, not at all costs, and I'm not going into technical detail when it is and when it isn't. Maybe in response to some questions, I'm going to deal with it. But this essentially is the core of our belief. And the purpose of these living beliefs is to preserve them. To say that given subject to medical guidance as to when it is to be stopped, like artificial nutrition, hydration, or to continue, and we waive any claim against the doctors who so decide to do it. It is simply, it's not that we've got if you like, a more optimistic view in belief that if you are going to continue those treatments, then you are likely to recover. Be realistic enough, although we say, even a sharp sword lays on heaven, there is always hope. And this is what Jews will always do. Al-Isyash or the Minerah. One should never give up. But the purpose of continuing it is not to sustain hope, which in some eyes may be futile hope, but it is to sustain something holy, something unique, and something which we believe is sparkling. Let me now come to practicalities and open to the book. The terms of a living will, as indicated, is to utilize it. I must say, I really compliment our legal system, whereby the legal system allows, at its own expense, allows beliefs of minorities, or sometimes beliefs of very, very, very specialist groups to prevail in certain circumstances, thereby causing substantial expense to the National Health Service and use of resources which would possibly have been utilized for other purposes. Now, commend this in the English, I mean, it's wonderful. We not impose the belief of the majority or to the minority. It's not only allowing the minority to practice its own religion, but aiding, assisting at great cost to the state to do that. And it will be wonderful. It's just an appreciation of what a wonderful society we live in. But next of kin, in the absence of a living will, the next of kin do have some sort of local standard, as we have heard, and it is incumbent upon anyone, not only the next of kin, but incumbent upon anyone who is able to sustain life without causing a new pain, which is something which we'll discuss a little later, to do so. And then there's a big problem, which we have no solutions, but maybe something will emerge in the discussion. And that is, what do people do next of kin who are faced with an unhalachic living will? The living will actually states, please do not resuscitate. Please do not do, or whatever the technical terms are. What is it that next of kin, who are conscious of their duties as Jews and as fellow human beings, what are they and what should they do in such cases? These are the areas that we give guidance. And this, we have no more time because we're already an hour standing here. What I think we're going to elaborate further on these issues by answering questions in the next session. Thank you.